Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever had to work with data, you know it almost never shows up in a nice, clean, perfectly organized package. It's usually a bit of a mess, right? Well, that's where our topic for today comes in. We're going to take a deep dive into a super powerful, must-know tool for any data developer, the Conditional Split inside SQL Server Integration Services, or as we all know it, SSIS. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by laying out the problem, this idea of mixed data. Then we'll introduce the solution, the conditional split. We'll do a quick walkthrough of how it works, and then we'll get into the really important stuff, how to configure it, why that default output is so critical, and the golden rule of always handling your errors. It's a nice, clean journey from a common problem to a really solid solution. All right, so let's set the stage. Picture this. You've got a single stream of data flowing into your system. But inside that one stream, you've got all these different types of records that need to be treated in completely different ways. That's the mixed data problem in a nutshell. One size definitely does not fit all. Okay, check out this classic example right here. We've got a simple list of employees. John and Lisa are permanent, Jane is temporary, and Sam works on commission. Now, there's no way you're going to run the same payroll logic for all of them, right? Permanent folks probably get a salary, temporary gets an hourly wage, and Sam's pay is based on a percentage of sales. Each of them needs to be sent down a totally different processing path. And that leads us to the big question, doesn't it? How do you take this one single file and automatically and efficiently make sure every single one of those records goes exactly where it needs to? Starting it by hand is a total non-starter. You need a system. You need something smart. And that system, that smart solution, is the SSIS Conditional Split. I absolutely love the subtitle, the traffic cop for your data. It's just perfect. That's exactly what it does. It stands at a busy intersection in your data flow and directs every single row into the correct lane, making sure there are no traffic jams. So what is it, technically speaking? It's a transformation component inside SSIS. Its entire job, its whole reason for being, is to look at the data inside each row, check it against some rules that you create, and then send that row out to a specific destination. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's absolutely essential for any complex ETL process. Here's another way to think about it that I really like. Imagine one of those high-tech sorting machines in a giant warehouse. You've got one main conveyor belt with all sorts of different packages on it. As each package goes by, a scanner reads its barcode, and then a little robotic arm pushes it onto the correct secondary belt. That is precisely what the conditional split is doing for your data. So how do you actually put one of these to work? Let's do a quick, high-level walkthrough. We're not going to get bogged down in every single mouse click right now. We're just going to focus on the logic, the big picture of how you build this flow. It's really a straightforward, logical process. First, you kick things off with a data flow task. That's your main canvas. Then you connect your source data, which in our case is that employee file. Next, you drag and drop the conditional split transformation right into the flow. And finally, you set up the different output paths for where you want all the sorted data to end up. All right, now we're getting to the heart of it. This is the brain of the whole operation, configuring the rules inside the conditional split. This is where you teach the machine how to think and what decisions to make. When you open it up, you're basically writing a series of if-then statements. Each one is a condition, an expression that the data is checked against. It's either true or it's false. For our employee data, a condition would be something simple like payment type equals permanent. You write these using a syntax that looks a lot like VB script, and you've got a ton of handy built-in functions for working with text, numbers, dates, you name it. And the best part? You can just drag your column names from a list and drop them right into your expressions. Super easy. Okay, now hold on. Before we go any further, I need this to really sink in. This is, without a doubt, the single most important thing to remember when you're setting up a conditional split. The order of your conditions is absolutely positively critical. And here's why. The component checks your rules one by one, from top to bottom. The very first time a record meets a condition that evaluates to true, boom, it's sent down that path and it's out. It is not checked against any of the other rules below it. So what does that mean? It means you always have to put your most specific conditions at the top of the list. That's the only way to guarantee your data ends up where you think it will. Okay, so you've set up your rules, you've got a path for permanent employees, one for temporary, and one for commission. You're feeling good. But What happens if a new payment type suddenly appears in the source file? What if a contractor record shows up tomorrow? What happens to the data that doesn't match any of your rules?
This is where the default output comes in, and honestly, it's a lifesaver. Any record that goes through all of your conditions and never gets a true is automatically funneled down this special default path. This is your safety net. It guarantees that no data just disappears into thin air. It has to go somewhere.
Now, here's a fantastic piece of pro-level advice that's highlighted here. Don't just let that default output go nowhere. The absolute best practice is to intentionally connect that path to something, an audit log, a holding table, anything. So why is this so important? Because it basically acts as an early warning system for your data pipeline. The moment that new contractor payment type shows up, you won't miss it. You'll see it sitting right there in your audit log. Then you can go back, update your logic to handle it properly, and you've just prevented a whole bunch of potential data quality headaches down the road. It's a brilliant way to build a resilient, future-proof process. You know, this whole idea of handling unexpected data, it really builds into a much bigger, more fundamental principle. Because handling that default output is just one piece of the puzzle. We need to be thinking about building resiliency into the entire pipeline. And that's such a great point. This mindset, expecting the unexpected and having a plan for it, it's not unique to the conditional split. You should be thinking this way and configuring error outputs for every single component in your data flow. And this right here, this is the fundamental truth of all ETL work. We are almost always at the mercy of whatever system is feeding us data. We don't control it. A column you expect to always have a number might suddenly get a piece of text. A date might show up in a crazy format. You have to develop a defensive mindset and build your packages to handle those real-world imperfections gracefully. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. It's one thing to build a pipeline that works on a perfect, sunny day when the data is exactly what you expect. But the true test of a great data engineer, of a great system, is how it behaves when things go wrong. So ask yourself, is your pipeline just built, or is it truly ready for the unexpected? Thanks so much for joining me.